Welcome to Tech Talks with Kinsoft. I mean, imagine you are running a business, right? Your security dashboards are flashing green and your automated IT reports are proudly declaring, zero data stolen.
Yeah, everything looks perfect on paper.
Exactly, the system worked. But at that exact moment, cyber criminals are literally standing in the public square, waving around your client's most private financial data for anyone to see.
It is a total nightmare scenario for any company.
Today, we are unpacking this modern digital whodunit. It is basically the cybersecurity equivalent of a bank manager standing in front of you, arms crossed, insisting the vault is perfectly secure and the alarms never went off.
Right.
While, literally across the street, the bank robbers are happily handing out the bank's cash to random passersby.
They're handing out the cash, the safe deposit boxes, the security camera footage, and honestly, probably the bank manager's personal diary too.
Yeah, pretty much everything.
Because the contradiction between what internal systems report and what threat actors publicly demonstrate, well, it's becoming one of the most pressing challenges in incident response today.
Oh, for sure. And our target in this specific mystery is 3P Corporation. They are this boutique financial services aggregate based right in the heart of Melbourne's finance district.
Right, down in Melbourne.
Yeah, founded back in 2013 by the author and TV personality Peter Ziggy. They offer, a comprehensive suite of services. We are talking accounting, tax, financial planning, legal advice, human resources.
And that business model is precisely why they are so relevant to this discussion, because a financial services aggregate isn't just a single company, right?
No, it's like a hub.
Exactly. It functions as a central nervous system for thousands of other entities. When attackers look at a boutique firm like 3P, they don't just see one target, they see a back door.
Right, a backdoor into every single business client that relies on 3P for payroll or tax lodgement or legal structuring.
Yeah, it is a classic supply chain attack.
Which makes them an absolute goldmine. I mean, they hold the actual crown jewels of identity theft for thousands of people. But, they probably don't have the billion-dollar cybersecurity budget that a massive bank does.
Or the, 500-person 2047 security operations center either.
Right, exactly. They operate on leaner margins, which creates this massive asymmetry that hackers just love to exploit.
And that asymmetry brings us to the threat actor involved here. The ransomware gang calls themselves Space Bears.
Space Bears. You gotta love the names these groups come up with.
It's ridiculous, but they are very serious.
Yeah.
They are not a legacy group that has been around for a decade, though. They emerged onto the scene relatively recently, back in April 2024.
Oh, okay, so fairly new.
Yeah, but they were presumed to be a Russia-based operation, and they function like a highly efficient corporate enterprise. I mean, before this incident, they had already claimed 71 victims worldwide.
Wow, 71. And they have a proven track record locally in Australia too, right?
They absolutely do.
Yeah, because their most recent Australian victim prior to this was a New South Wales charity, Christian Community Aid, which was breached by them in January of 2025. So, they aren't just making idle threats.
No, not at all. They possess the operational capacity to infiltrate and extract data, which, sets the stage for the incident at 3P Corporation.
Right. Let's get into the timeline.
So, according to the timeline provided by Space Bears, they compromised 3P systems on April 7, 2026.
Okay, April 7.
And just 3 days later, on April 10th, the group publicly listed 3P on their dark web leak site. They claimed a massive haul, over 200 gigabytes of data.
200 gigabytes, and the specifics of that claim were honestly terrifying. Space Bears stated they had the core database, internal financial documents, and the personal information of both employees and clients.
Yeah, it's basically the worst-case scenario list.
And they set a ransom deadline for around April 18, basically issuing an ultimatum, pay up by this date or we release everything to the public.
Well, and when a threat actor makes a claim like that, you have to remember they are relying heavily on fear.
Sure.
Ransomware groups are, by nature, criminal extortionists. They have a massive vested interest in exaggerating their haul.
Right, to scare the executive.
Exactly, to terrify a company's executive board into authorizing a payout.
But I would assume they bluff constantly. Right. A hacker could theoretically grab a tiny handful of superficial files, like some public marketing brochures or, an outdated employee phone list.
Oh, happens all the time.
And then they loudly claim they possess the crown jewels. You can't just take a professional liar at their word.
No, you really can't. That critical thinking is essential in crisis management. Security teams assume the adversary is lying until proven otherwise.
Makes sense.
This is why a company's initial reaction relies so heavily on their own internal telemetry, the automated data and system alerts flowing through their network.
But look, if you're a 3P corporation, you can't just ignore a ticking ransom clock. You have to respond to the public claim.
You do.
And their response wasn't a negotiation. It was a flat-out rejection. The contrast between the attacker's claim and the company's official stance is incredibly stark here. 3P completely and unequivocally disputed the claim that any data was stolen.
Yeah, they did. A spokesperson for 3P confirmed that an incident did take place on April 7, but they deliberately framed it as an attempted ransomware attack.
Attempted, so they are saying it failed.
Right. The company laid out a very confident corporate defense based on, well, basically two distinct pillars.
So the first pillar was operational. They stated their internal investigations found their systems detected the attack and stopped it before any data could be compromised.
Right. So the system worked, the alarms went off, the automated doors locked, the threat was neutralized.
And the second pillar of their defense was structural, right?
Yeah, this part is really interesting. They argued that because 3Key Corporation Ltd. Is technically a holding company, it does not hold any direct client data in the first place.
Oh, wow. So they're saying they literally don't even possess the things the hackers are claiming to have stolen.
Exactly. The logical conclusion being there was nothing sensitive for the hackers to steal, even if they had bypassed the defenses.
Well, to be fair to 3P, they didn't just sweep the internal alert under the rug. I mean, they followed the textbook procedural playbook for an attempted breach.
They absolutely did the right things procedurally.
Yeah, they reported the incident and the findings of their internal investigation to the Australian Cybersecurity Center. They informed their staff. They proactively notified potential clients that an incident had occurred, and they closed the perceived gaps in their network to strengthen their controls.
On paper, that is exactly how you handle a neutralized threat. You rely on your system logs, you notify the relevant authorities, and you reassure your stakeholders.
Right.
But this brings us back to the central mystery. The company says their system stopped the attack, no data was taken, and they structurally don't hold client data.
Right. The vault is perfectly secure.
But the hackers stand there claiming they possess over 200 gigabytes of it.
And the burden of proof shifts heavily when that ransom deadline expires. Because when April 18 passed without a payment, Space Bears didn't just walk away.
No, they followed through.
Yeah, they followed through on their threat, moving from making claims on the dark web to actually publishing the files. And they published a 213.3 gigabyte compressed archive to a popular clear web file hosting site.
And that clear web aspect is crucial.
Right, it's not hidden away.
Exactly. They didn't bury this in some obscure, heavily encrypted corner of the dark web where only sophisticated hackers congregate.
Yeah.
By putting it on a clear web hosting site, anyone with a standard web browser could reach it.
And the metrics on that file hosting site are just staggering. According to the site's own properties, that massive archive was downloaded 196 times.
Wow.
196 times? That isn't just one security researcher looking at it. That represents potentially 196 different threat actors or identity thieves or data brokers grabbing a complete copy of the archive for themselves.
To determine the truth between the two competing narratives, journalists at Cyber Daily conducted a review of this leaked data.
Oh, good. So we have actual eyes on the payload.
Yeah, they examined the 30 folders of company data that were dumped. And what they found forcefully dismantled the company's defense that a holding company doesn't hold direct client data.
Wow. Okay, so what was actually in it?
Well, the contents are highly sensitive and incredibly specific. The leak includes hundreds of authority to deduct funds forms.
Authority to deduct funds, so those are used for tax returns, right?
Exactly. And they feature full bank details, they feature actual wet signatures from customers, and they are stamped on official 3P letterhead.
Oh, that's not good.
No. They were even found in a folder explicitly labeled 3P Accounting and Tax Trust Account.
Man, that totally destroys the holding company argument.
It does. The review also uncovered trust account statements, remittance advice, employee pay slips, and internal document templates. The files relate to more than 4,500 business service clients.
4,500 businesses.
Yeah, we are looking at their private correspondence, their tax returns, and signed corporate deeds.
The most terrifying discovery, though, was a single document within this leak that contains more than 2,700 tax file numbers. 2,700 TFNs.
Yeah, a tax file number is the absolute holy grail for identity theft in Australia.
Because you just can't change it, right?
Exactly. It functions as a permanent identifier. You cannot easily change it if you can change it at all. When an identity thief acquires a TFN alongside a wet signature, a person's full name, and their banking details, they possess a complete turnkey kit for executing severe financial fraud.
That's horrifying.
They can open lines of credit, file fraudulent tax returns, and systematically dismantle a person's financial life.
So we are looking at what I can only describe as Schrodinger's brooch.
I like that.
You know, the famous thought experiment, right?
Yeah.
The cat in the box is simultaneously alive and dead until you open it and look. In this case, the data is allegedly completely safe, locked away, and uncompromised, according to the company's internal system logs and official statements.
Yep.
But simultaneously, it is demonstrably public, downloaded nearly 200 times, and being analyzed by journalists on the clear web.
Schrodinger's breach perfectly captures the cognitive dissonance of modern incident response. I mean, it highlights a dangerous over-reliance on internal software to tell us what reality is.
Wait, if the logs say everything is fine but the data is demonstrably gone, the hackers must be tampering with the cameras, so to speak, right?
Yes, exactly.
Are they just logging in as administrators and simply turning the security software off so it can't record them?
That is one of the primary methods,
Hmm.
and it requires a fundamental shift in how we understand cybersecurity software. People tend to view security logs as this omniscient, all-seeing eye that monitors the entire network from above.
Like a magic camera.
Right, but logs are just software programs.
Mhm.
They only show you what they are specifically consigned to monitor, and crucially, they only report what the operating system's permissions allow them to see.
Okay, so if an attacker gains administrative privileges, maybe by stealing the credentials of a high-level IT worker through a phishing email, they basically become the boss of the network. They can just tell the security cameras to look the other way.
Or they can operate entirely out in the open using legitimate tools. This is a tactic known as living off the land.
Living off the land. What does that mean in this context?
Well, IT departments back up gigabytes of data every single day, right? They use standard file transfer software to move massive amounts of information to cloud servers for safekeeping.
Sure, regular maintenance.
If an attacker uses those exact same administrative tools to move the data out of the network, the security software doesn't trigger an alarm.
Oh, wow.
It looks at the activity and assumes it's just a routine Tuesday server backup performed by an authorized user.
So the software isn't broken, it's just being tricked by stolen credentials into validating the robbery.
Precisely.
Hmm.
And the mechanism of ransomware dwell time makes this even more deceptive. Hackers don't just break in and immediately start encrypting things.
Right, they hide.
Yeah, they often sit silently in a network for days, weeks, or even months. They spend that time mapping the network, finding the most valuable data, and quietly exfiltrating it using those legitimate tools we just talked about.
And all of that happens without triggering a single alarm.
Nothing. Total silence.
So when does the security software actually wake up and declare an attack is happening?
At the very end of the attack sequence, once the hackers have successfully copied all the data they want, they trigger the actual ransomware, the malicious payload that scrambles the company's files and throws a ransom note on the computer screens.
Oh, I see.
This encryption process is highly anomalous behavior. The security software finally recognizes the malware, springs into action, and blocks the encryption from completing.
So the system generates a cheerful automated report saying, hey, success! We detected and stopped a ransomware attack.
Yes. And the company looks at the log, breathes a sigh of relief, and writes a confident PR statement.
While completely missing the fact that the encryption was just the noisy distraction at the end of the heist?
Exactly. It stopped the encryption, but the silent data theft, the exfiltration, had already occurred days beforehand.
That is wild.
Relying purely on automated initial alerts to draft a definitive public denial is incredibly dangerous. It leads directly to the contradiction we see in this case.
It fundamentally changes how a company should weigh contested claims. I mean, let's say you are a business owner managing a crisis response team.
Yeah.
The hackers say they have your data, but your IT dashboard is completely green. You cannot artificially generate 2,700 valid Australian tax file numbers tied to real names just to run a bluff.
No, you can't.
The physical evidence of a 213.3 gigabyte compressed file filled with verified letterhead stamped documents heavily outweighs the internal log report.
Oh, absolutely. When evaluating leak site claims, security professionals look for proof of life.
Proof of life.
They need a sample of data that proves the attacker actually breached the core systems and didn't just scrape public websites. In this scenario, the attackers didn't just provide a small sample, they dumped the entire payload.
Yeah, 200 plus gigs.
A file of that magnitude containing deeply specific financial histories is impossible to fake.
So the sensible, mature response requires active verification. If you find yourself in the middle of a suspected breach, the absolute wrong move is to issue a blanket denial based solely on automated alerts.
It's the worst thing you can do.
You have to look outward. When the hackers post a claim or a sample on the dark web, your incident response team must actively cross-reference those specific dark web samples with your own internal databases.
You have to check if the files the hackers are holding match the files in your cabinet. If the threat actor posts a document titled Trust Account Statement April.pdf, your forensic team needs to immediately search your network for that exact file structure and hash.
Right.
If it matches, you know your perimeter was breached, regardless of what the green lights on your dashboard say.
Which brings up a huge point about communication strategy. 3P Corporation told their clients early on that an attack was attempted, but no data was compromised.
Yeah, they did.
Imagine being one of those 4,500 business clients. You read that email, you breathe a sigh of relief, and you tell your own employees that everything is fine.
And then reality hits.
A month later, you read in the news that your wet signature and your employees' TFNs have been downloaded almost 200 times by unknown actors. The betrayal of trust there is enormous.
It's catastrophic for a business relationship. Transparent, ongoing communication with clients is far safer and ultimately better for long-term reputation than a premature all clear.
Right. You can't just cross your fingers.
No, it is completely acceptable to tell clients, look, we detected an intrusion. We successfully stopped the encryption process, but we are currently conducting a deep forensic analysis to determine if any data was copied before we intervened.
That sounds so much more professional.
We advise you to remain vigilant while we confirm the facts.
Yeah, that approach sets realistic expectations. It treats the client like a partner in the security process rather than, a liability to be managed and minimized. It shows you actually understand the complexity of the threat landscape.
And when a PR denial gets debunked by journalists reviewing the actual leaked data days or weeks later, the company doesn't just look like a victim of a sophisticated cyber attack anymore.
No, they look terrible.
They look either grossly incompetent or actively deceptive. Recovering from that specific kind of reputational damage, the loss of trust from your core clientele, is far harder than recovering from the initial technical hack.
Because you cannot spin your way out of a mathematical reality. Once a 213-gigabyte archive containing 2,700 tax file numbers and thousands of physical signatures is downloaded 196 times on the clear web, that digital footprint is permanent.
Oh, it's out there forever.
It is distributed across the globe, sitting on hard drives from Moscow to Miami. Data absolutely cannot be unleaked.
And the permanence of that leak raises fundamental questions about our regulatory frameworks and our corporate crisis playbooks.
Yeah, they feel outdated.
Because many of these playbooks were written a decade ago, designed for an era where a breach meant a lost laptop, not a silent exfiltration of an entire corporate aggregate.
It really leaves us with a massive, lingering question to ponder as we wrap up today's exploration. If our current data notification laws allow a company to confidently rely on flawed internal logs to deny a breach that has already been downloaded 200 times by unknown actors, how can you, the listener, ever truly know your identity is safe?
It's a scary thought.
If the bank manager doesn't even know the vault is empty because the camera monitors were paused, the alarms are entirely useless. The security apparatus we rely on might just be offering the illusion of control.
Something every business needs to think about.
Before we go, if this story has you looking sideways at your own system logs, wondering what your blind spots are, or realizing your business might be an aggregate target, you need to take action before an incident occurs. We strongly encourage you to visit www.kinsoft.com.au to discuss your security and IT needs, ensuring your systems and response plans are tested, verified, and actually ready for the realities of modern cyber threats.
Definitely check them out.
Thank you for tuning in to Tech Talks with Kinsoft. We will be back soon to help you navigate the next complex story. Until then, keep an eye on the vault and don't just trust the green lights. Stay safe out there.